Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to my channel. I am your fave nurse B. Today we're going to talk about how I manifested getting over $10,000 of school debt paid for on top of getting accepted into a nursing program. So I don't have anything prepared as far as written down, but basically I just want to talk about my story. I feel like part of it was definitely manifestation. People say like you're manifesting all the time, whether you realize it or not. Part of this was, it was just everything came into place. It was very interesting. So let me give you a little backstory. So I went into college at the age of 15. I went to an early school in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. You can look it up. It's a legit thing. And it was very expensive. Private college. My parents cannot afford it, right? If you're new to my channel, then you don't know the story. But if you old, like, you know the story for real, for real. But anyways, my parents couldn't afford it. I racked over $10,000 worth of school debt. Not student loan debt. I still have that debt, but like actually the school needed this money, right? So schools don't release your transcripts to other schools in order for you to get financial aid or even get accepted into the schools until you pay off that debt, right? So for years, I got out of this school back, I went to school when I was 16, okay? The last time I went to this school was like 2007. It took over a decade for this debt to be cleared, you all. It took a long time. And yeah, it took a long time. So that happened, and recently this debt was completely taken care of. Back in February was it 2019? Or was it 2020? No, 2020. Yeah, February 2020 is when this debt was cleared. So let me tell you all what I did. Let me just tell you all how it all like went into fruition. So the debt was technically not in my name. It was in my mother's name, right? And just so you all know, I made a vision board, and like, yeah, that's part of this whole thing too. That's crazy. But anyway, I have a video all about how I made this vision board. It was on deck, honey. But anyways, the debt was not in my name. It was my mother's name. And I had asked her for years, I kept asking her, like, Mom, can you help me with the debt? Like, what do you think we should do? Da, 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 da. She's like, get a personal loan to pay for it. This and the third. She was like, I tried to, file it under, she was like, okay, I'm going to do a bankruptcy. I'm going to get a bankruptcy and put it underneath there. She's like, but every time I talk to a lawyer, they say that I can't put it under the bankruptcy because it's student loan debt. You cannot put student loan debt under a bankruptcy. And I was like, Mom, like, this is not student loans. This is money you owe to the school. It's not a student loan. If it was a student loan, my transfers would be released. It's not a student loan. So for a minute, she kept telling me the same thing. I cannot release. They're not going to be able to put it on there because it's a student loan. I'm like, Mom, it's not a student loan. So that happened, right? That was the whole thing. Then I remember, like, okay, I have this debt. Even though I had the debt, I still went to school and became an LPN. I was able to do that because my LPN school did not require transcripts from any prior institutions in order for me to go there, and in order for me to get financial aid. I did not need transcripts. But when it came time for me to get my RN, that school for sure wanted those transcripts. So many people told me, well, just apply to the school and then just don't tell them that you went to that college and put down, like, just don't put that school down. That way you don't need those credits. Don't put it down. And like, honestly, I don't like to do things like that. Like, I don't like to do like halfway stuff, because the way I think, I will make myself get in trouble. Like, I don't like to do backhanded stuff like that, because I feel like if it's meant for me, it's going to happen the way it needs to happen. And I just don't like to play games like that, especially with school. Like, when it comes to school, like, I don't like to play games like that, because I would be devastated if I was in a school and halfway through they're like, hey, we see that you went to this other college, you're going to have to get dropped out, because that's, you don't have academic integrity. Like, you're not being forthright with us, and so we have to kick you out of the school. Like, that can legit happen. And every time I would tell people my story about owing debt, they were like, just don't tell the school. Like, I did it before, it worked. And I was contemplating, I even was gonna do it, y'all. Like, I even was going to do it with another school. Like, I'm not above it. I was about to do it with another school, y'all, and then this freaking school closed. Like, they did some Stanford Brown type stuff. Like, they allowed people to apply, they allowed all this stuff to happen, and the freaking school closed. Like, I remember applying for the school, paying the money to do the test, and like 2 weeks later they closed. They were like, oh, we're closing up, we're not going to be open anymore, da da da. It was like a whole scam, but they're back in business now or something. I'm like, y'all, would not trust y'all. Earl Grey tea. So I wasn't above it, and you know, honestly, oh, I'm gonna have to do a whole separate video about that, but I'm not even gonna tell y'all that. But anyways, I know I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but that was it. I didn't want to go that route because it's like, I just felt, if it's meant for me to do this, I just kept telling myself, when it's meant for me to do it, like, everything is going to be perfect. I'm not going to have to do anything like backhanded. Like, it's going to be the way it needs to be. So in the meantime of me knowing that I had $11,000 in debt, I think it was like a little bit over 11,000 that I had to conquer. I was like, you know what? I was doing all type of stuff to pay this debt off, and every time I would try to put money towards it, like, I had to put money towards other stuff, and I was getting really frustrated. Like, it was to the point like I had took out some stuff from my 401k to go ahead and pay off the debt, and that money had to go to something else, and I was so pissed off. I was like, here it is, I can't go back to school because I have all this debt. Like, I'm so pissed, like, I'm just so upset, so mad, you all. But even through all that, I went ahead and completed all of my prerequisites for my RN program. So I would say, if you're working towards a manifestation and if money is a big blockage, do everything that you can that has nothing to do with money. Now, I did pay out of pocket for all these schools, and like, when I did the math, like, I could have probably paid off that debt. It would have took some time, but I would have probably been able to pay off that debt within like 5 or 6 years. If I would have put the money that I was putting towards the classes towards the debt, it would have gotten paid off. I know that's crazy, but instead I was like, you know what, let me take the classes I need for my RN program. So I took A&P 1 and 2, micro, bio, college algebra, all the math that I had to take before I even got into college algebra, English and history and biomedical ethics. Like, all of these classes I took one at a time, 2 at a time, 3 at a time. I had 2 babies. I did all of this stuff, and the debt was still not paid off. But in my mind, I was just like, you know what? I don't know how this is going to get paid off. Like, I just literally just said it like that. Like, I was like, I don't know how it's going to get paid off, but it's going to get paid off. And it was even to the point that I remember getting a bill from, because the debt was no longer even at the school anymore. The school took that debt and they took it to a collection agency. So I contacted the collection agency and to just get more information. You know, once you contact a collection office, like, if you hadn't talked to them in like years, now they about to be texting you, sending you all type of stuff. Like, they gonna be like, oh, you want to pay your debt back? Like, okay, let's do it. So they had sent something in the mail, right? And it was basic. I wish I freaking had this, but I don't know what the heck I did with it. But it was saying like, this is how much the debt was. And I vividly remember that it was in October. It was some date in October that they sent it to me. And I was so like triggered when I got it in the mail, telling me how much the debt was and all this and the third, and like how much they would settle for. And I was just like, this is never going to get paid off. Like, this, like, it just felt so big, you know. In my mind, it was big. And that's one of the things with manifestations. Like, if you make it seem too big for you to be able to accomplish, like, it's going to be very hard for you to accomplish it, because you're making it bigger than what it needs to be. Because it's kind of like when people say like sins, like, if it's a little sin or a big sin, it's still a sin at the end of the day. That's kind of how it is with manifestations. Like, no matter if it's a small thing or a big thing, you're still manifesting it. So the energy of manifesting is still the energy of manifesting, no matter if it's small or big. Only you can create the blockage there of like, okay, this is too big for me to manifest. So you create the blockage, not the universe, not God. It was you. So anyways, I was so triggered by it. But you know, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to allow this to get me there. I'm consciously making an effort to go back to school and get this RN. I'm doing my prereqs, you know, in the meantime. So what I did was I took a red marker and I put paid in full, and I taped it on my wall right across from my bed. So that was one of the first things. So of course, I would say the first thing was still working, like knowing that it was going to happen, and then taking steps to accomplish it that did not have to do with the money, because the money was really big for me. Coming up with $11,000 to pay a debt from when I was 17 years old that I created when I was 17, that was like, mentally it was just like, do I really, like, really? I was 17 when I got this debt. Like, this has been holding me back for so long. So instead of like trying to figure out that thing, I was like, you know what? Focus on the things that you know you can control, that are going to give you that instant, you know, gratification that you can actually accomplish. So if you have something really big that you need to accomplish, but money or time or something is like big and it's like creating a blockage for you, just do what you can that has nothing to do with money or time. Because usually money and time is the biggest blockages to people. Either they feel like they're too old, or they don't have enough time, or it's going to take too much time, it's going to take too much money, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the red tape of the situation is, let that be what it is. Like, just leave that there and be like, you know what, I get to you when I can. And focus on the green lights. Focus on the things that you're like, you know what, I can check this off. I can check this off. And to me, I could focus on the classes. I knew I could get through these classes. I knew that I could do that. I knew that I could do a payment plan and pay off these classes over time. I had no issue knowing that it was going to take me X amount of time to complete prereqs. I didn't care. Like, I wanted to accomplish this goal, but the money was really big for me. So I just let that sit to the side. So that's the first thing. Hold on. So the second thing was, when you get that bill, when you get that letter that you don't want to get, put something positive on it. So like I said, I used a red Sharpie and I wrote paid in full. Thank you, God, or thank you, Lord. I think I said that, but I know for sure I put paid in full. Like, I underlined it, taped it right next to my bed. And every time I woke up, I would see it. I would see it. I would see it. And I remember even one day, my husband was like, I don't know if it's a Gemini or what, but he eventually was like, oh, this is paid off. I was like, no, it's not paid off. But like, it took him a minute to notice it though. He was like, oh, this paid off. When did this get paid off? And I was like, no, it's not paid off, but like, I just know what's going to happen. He was like, well, how's it going to happen? I was like, I just know what's going to happen. He was like, well, like, we really need to have a plan. Like, don't you have a plan? Like, what's your plan to actually get this paid off? I was like, I don't know. You know, like, I don't freaking know how this shit gonna get paid off. That's kind of how I was feeling like. And it kind of discouraged me, because I was like, I don't have a plan. Maybe I'm just kind of being, you know, in la land. Like, maybe I'm not being realistic about being able to pay this off. And it kind of discouraged me. And I think like 2 or 3 days later, like, I literally, like, I think I was cleaning or something. I was doing something around the house, and I just ripped it off the wall. I don't know how far, I'm sorry, I did not keep account of this, but I don't know how far it was from him telling me that till me doing this, but I literally just ripped it off the wall one day when I was cleaning up. And I was like, whatever. That's why I don't know where the paper is. I don't know if I put it up or if I threw it away, but I was like, I'm not even gonna just focus on this no more, like, whatever. But I never gave up hope that I would be able to go back to school. I just, seeing that and hearing him say what he said, I was like, maybe I'm just being too unrealistic about being able to do this. Like, maybe I do need to have a plan to just pay it off. And that's where I got I created that blockage for myself again, right? Because I created this distance between me and what I wanted, and I was like, it's gonna be too hard, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And I lost the magic of it, right? Because people are like, oh, manifesting is not magic, you still gotta do work. That's true, but it's also mentally and physically how do you feel about it? You know, like, what is your mindset towards it? And to me, I felt good being like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I know it's gonna happen, and I'm okay with that. You know, whenever the opportunity comes up, or whenever I'm shown what I need to do, whoever needs to come into place, they're gonna come into place. But I know it's gonna happen. I'm pretty confident in that, and that's it. I'm okay with that. But just know that as you're working towards those manifestations, you might have people or situations that will discourage you. And that's what happened to me. No tea, no shade to my husband, because he's a very practical person. Very practical. Like, it's crazy. Hold on. And you might be a very practical person too. Like, girl, like, this is not you. You didn't make this happen. Like, it just happened. But a lot of times, I really am starting to see that things are, of course, always happening, but you might not be open to receiving the blessing, to receive the manifestation, because you're just like, it has to happen this way. So when somebody gives you some powder, not powder, gives you some flour, and somebody try to come around and give you an egg, and somebody come around and give you some vanilla extract, and somebody come around and give you sugar. Like, I don't want any of that. I'm trying to get a cake. Like, I want a cake. I know you've heard of this before if you watch manifestation videos. And it's just like, okay, but I'm giving you everything you need to make it happen. But all you're focused on is how I'm going to get that cake. Well, I'm giving you the ingredients and what you need to do it, but you're not even seeing it. You just focus on one thing. So you can create blockages for yourself. And I think me ripping that off the wall, I don't know if that created a blockage or if that in some way was me letting go of that. Okay, because I still took classes. I still went to take classes. I still would research schools. I even, like I said, I applied for a school. I went to info sessions about schools. Like, that's another thing too. Like, I kept myself in the loop as if I was gonna go. I got a whole video about it. I went to it. I didn't even have the debt paid off, I don't think, at this point, honestly. Yeah, I don't think I did. And I went to this info session about a school to see their RN program and their BSN program. I would call schools. I would go on websites. Like, I was constantly still putting my energy towards, I know I'm going back to school. Even when I was in my LPN program, I would print off all this stuff about RN programs. I knew about all the colleges in my area, what classes you had to take, how much it cost. Like, I was on top of it. Like, I knew everything about the area where I live. And I was like, I know what schools I can go to. I know what they offer. Like, Like, I kept myself in the loop even though the money wasn't there. So that's another thing. Keep yourself in the loop even if the money isn't there or the time or whatever it is the red tape. You know, even though the red tape has not been pulled apart, still keep yourself in the energy of creating it. Still get the knowledge, the information, still take those classes you need to take. Still, I don't know, whatever you need to do. Learn about, even if you know, okay, it's going to take me money to build, maybe you're manifesting like paying off credit or something like that, and you're like, I don't really have a lot of money to pay it off. Still learn about ways to increase your credit. What does it mean? Like, what is the credit score? What is it all comprised of? Okay, part of it is your payment history. Part of it is your credit utilization, like all of that thing. The how old your credit is. Like, learn about it. Put yourself in that energy, okay? Because the money is going to come. The time is going to open up for you. And when it does, you want to make sure that you already have enough taken care of so that whenever that floodgate opens, you're good to go. So here's the next thing. I ripped that off the wall. I don't know how much time had passed, but I remember October, something being on that paper. And I was like, you know, wouldn't it be crazy if it took like this time next year, next October is how long it's going to take me to pay this off. Like, how long it's going to take. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? If like this got taken care of in October, like around this date. So keep that in mind. I just like thought, like, wouldn't that be interesting? Okay. So I remember I wanted to do a New Year video, right? New Year, let's get ourselves started video. I had like revamped my channel, like how it looked. Like back then I had a different background, like my hair was dyed, like I was still doing videos downstairs, not in my bedroom because anyway, but I made this vision board. I have a video breaking down the entire vision board. I did like this badge of myself at the hospital, one of the hospitals in my area. I put ER because I know I want to work in the ER. I put the year that I would have my bachelor's degree by. I took my picture. I put the RN. Like, it was like a legit ID. I had this B Holt RN. I had one of the schools that I was looking at. I had my school that I went to, and I wrote a letter saying, Dear Brandy Holt, I have received notification that your tuition is paid in full. Thank you for handling this matter. Your official transcripts are now able to be released. Please contact me if you have any questions. Thank you. And then I put the person who was in financial aid at the time, I put their information. Like, I looked all this up. I had right here this like Brandy Holt, my name, RNBSN, like a graduation. I put this up like as an announcement I would put up for you all, like, it's here, Nurse B, LPN to RN journey. Are y'all ready? Like, I took a picture that I found on Pinterest of somebody doing their like graduation photos, and I put my face on top of it. Yeah, I did some crazy girl stuff, but that's just how we rock. And then I took like what do you see over here? I took comments from you all and pasted them on there, because to me, I wanted to show like what I was working towards. I wanted to have that vision of me doing it. This is really what I wanted, was becoming an RN, working in an ER in a hospital. I put my signature here, Behold RN, and I also put pictures of my kids, and I put information from you all, like little like things from you all telling me like really sweet stuff, because I saw this manifestation of me going back to school as like a win for my entire community, which is everybody watching this video. Even if you're new here, like I saw it as a win for all of us, because I definitely feel like, you know, an underdog sometimes, but I just saw it as a win for all of us, because I know a lot of people have blockages when it comes to school and higher education based off of shit that happened when you were a kid in school. Like schools be messing us up sometimes, but or just life in general. So I saw this as a win for all of us, especially because I shared my story with everybody about all the stuff, you know, behind me not being able to go back to school, right? So I created this vision board, and I did not put the time or the date, but if I'll look at the video when I post it. So I don't know, I had a conversation with my husband one day. We were in the kitchen, and I was just so frustrated. I was like, I've done so many things, right? Okay, so I'm the youngest. I have an older sister from my mom, and then my dad has 2 other children outside my mom, right? So I'm the youngest of all my siblings, and my other siblings, nothing wrong with them, but like they had children at young ages. They didn't go to college. And you know, they did the things that people would be like, my brother was in jail and things like that. So like they did things that people would be like, ooh, like that's a stain. Of course, everybody's doing really good right now, you know, but me, I never really did anything. I went to college early. I moved out of my house early. I got married before I had children. I had my children married. I haven't like ran to my parents asking for this or that. Of course, I had my moments. I was a teenager. I had my little spiffs and all that stuff. You know, I had issues like my mental health when I was younger, but nothing really major. I didn't have any kids at a young age. I didn't do nothing crazy, right? I was definitely a rebel, but I didn't do anything crazy. Like I went to college early. Like I made you all proud. Like my freaking face was in the newspaper. Like I was on TV about going to college early. Like I did all of these freaking things. And I was so upset with my family, my parents, because I was like, I did everything right. And y'all couldn't even pay off this debt for me to go back to school. Like I was so hurt when I really thought about it. And I think part of sometimes with your manifestations is, especially when it's something that has to do with money, because a lot of times it is money, or if it's love, or if it's having children, whatever it is, a lot of times it's a deeper rooted blockage or subconscious belief that is stopping you from manifesting it. So for me, I had this vendetta against my family, against my parents, or this grudge against them that I did not verbalize to them. And I was talking to my husband one day, and he was like, look, who was in the kitchen, he was like, look, and I was kind of like really emotional. That's why I love him, because he allows me to be emotional. He was like, baby, like I hear you, like that's crazy, that's horrible, and we're not going to do that for our kids. Like we're going to make sure they have everything they need. But he was like, talk to your dad, talk to your mom, like tell them how you feel. And I was like, oh, they not going to. I said, I should just tell them in person. He was like, no, write out everything how you feel so you can get everything out on, like written down, and just text it to him. So I was like, okay. And I read the text, and he was like, yeah, that's cool, text it, like just send it, that's how you feel, send it. So I sent it to my mom and my dad, basically telling them everything I just told you all, and being like, you know, this is how much the debt is, could you help me out, this and the third. So my dad basically, I'm gonna get personal, my dad was just like, look, I didn't tell you to go to that school. I told you that school was too much, but y'all said y'all had it all together. Like, you grown. I don't, that's y'all. He was like, get a loan, do something. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's not my problem, basically. He was like, I told you not to go to that school. Mind you, I was 16 at the time. Like, you telling me, you told me not to go. I was 16. I was a kid. Like, what the fuck? And I was just like, I feel like my parents could have did more coming together, because they weren't together. And they've like not talked for years. Like they really like don't. My mom is really open and receptive. My dad holds grudges like nobody's business. Okay, male Virgo, I don't know what the Y'all be holding some grudges, okay? But anyways, shout out to anybody who has a dad that's a Virgo. But anywho, my mom was like, you know, I'm sorry, and I'm gonna do whatever I can, right? So that was that. Nothing had happened for a while. I talked to my best friend about it, and she was like, girl, da 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 da. And I was like, my mom was saying that she was gonna do this. She was like, just reach out to her again and just see if she did anything. So I was like, you know what? I reached out to my mom. I was like, I just don't know. I just want to just leave it alone. Like, she hasn't said anything past then. Yeah, I'm a Cancer crowd, so I be wanting to be in my feelings. But like, once I put my feelings out there, I'm going right back to the shell. Like, all you getting is shell after this. But I was like, okay, you know, she's like, just talk to her again or just reach out to her again. And I reached out to my mom again. I was like, hey, like, anything, you know, were you able to find out any ways to pay off the school debt, whatever? Because my mom, in my husband's mind, he was like, look, like, yes, it's your debt, but you created this debt when you were 16 under the influence, under the pretenses that your parents were going to pay it off. They should pay this off. That was his mindset. And I was like, well, I'm an adult now. Like, I should be responsible. He was like, they need to pay that shit off. Like, that was their responsibility. They should have did right by you. So that was his mindset, right? So then talked to my mom. I was like, did you? She's like, well, I did no, this is what happened. I was like, have you talked to anybody about your bankruptcy? She was like, oh, I already did the bankruptcy. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I did my bankruptcy a minute ago. And I was like, well, can you contact the school? So I contacted the school. I said, hey, my mom did a bankruptcy. And she said, the person at the school was like, well, as long as we're on there, then we should be able to do it. So I'm like, wait, what? She's like, as long as we were declared or whatever within, let me see if I can find, no, I'm not on my phone. Where's my phone? Hold on, give me 2 seconds. 2 shakes of a lamb tap. Okay, you all, so I made the video about the vision board on January 2nd of 2020. Okay, so last year, 2020, I made the video January 2nd, right? The school was like, send me the information. I need the transcript, something she was saying. I need the case number or whatever, and I need the documents, blah, 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 blah. Come to find out, y'all, my mom had filed for her freaking bankruptcy back in October. So October of 2019, my mom had filed for her bankruptcy. So that debt was essentially already written off from October 2019 all the way up until January 2nd when I made this freaking vision board. The manifestation had already freaking come into fruition, but all that freaking time had passed. And even in between that time, I applied for the other school. And I have a video up where I applied for the school, and I put in the video, I was talking about how, I'm gonna put a picture of it up. But I was basically like, the school, okay, I put the school I applied to is closing. That was, let me see what day that was. That was on December 13th, 2019, y'all. So I had put that, like, I tried to apply for a school. I tried to do what I said, finagle some things. And that school ended up closing. So it was not meant for me to go to that school, right? Because, say, for instance, that debt was pardoned in October and I knew about it and I got my transcripts, I would have went gun-ho into applying for that school that ended up closing. And I probably would have got in for their January class. And because this is December, I found out they were closing like towards the end of December. So I probably would have applied like that October or November, got in, paid fees, bought uniforms, all this extra stuff, only for them to close the very next month. Because that's exactly what freaking happened to anybody that applied for that school. Like they did these kids wrong. Like they, not kids, but they did these students very wrong. So it was a reason why that didn't work out.
Okay,
so
don't mind
that
my 2-year-old screaming. That's just what she do, child. But something else I used to do, which I still do, but I script, and I would legit write this out. Like I have pages of me writing out B-Ho RN, B-Ho RN, B-Ho RN. Your fave nurse B, B-Ho RN. All expenses for school are paid in full. Thank you now. Like this was something I did, I think back in 2019. B whole RN, BORN. Like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Yeah, this was 2019, I think. So that's also something else I would do. I would even script as if like I was talking about how I just did a video about me going back to school. I would talk about how I'm applying for school as if it already happened. And yes, this works really, really well. Like I just kept writing. Every time I would just have like time to like doodle, I would just write B whole RN, B whole RN over and over and over again, to like impression into my subconscious mind. And yeah, RN 20. Yes. Oh my God, that's crazy. Your fave nurse be RN 2020. And that's when I started my program, was our 2020. But I wrote this back in November of 2019, and the debt was paid off actually that October. So that's something else I would definitely look into doing scripting. I think I have a video on my other channel. Yeah, I have a video on my other channel where I talk about that. But anyway, I just want to show you all that as like a manifestation hack that really works. And I have a journal that I use just for manifestations. So definitely get one that you use just to write like your scripting and things like that. Okay, bye.
I made a video titled, where is it at? Are y'all ready? LPN to RN journey. Look at the vision board. Nurse B, LPN to RN journey. Are y'all ready? So I made that specifically in homage to this vision board that I made. So did the vision board make the manifestation happen? I don't know. I remember making it, and at the time I used to work at a small desk down in our kitchen, like little area, the dining room area. I used to have a desk down there, and right across from it I put on the wall this vision board. So every day I would see it. I saw it. And I don't know why. Like everything just happens in divine timing, right? So I would see it every day. I made the vision board. I put a lot of intention into it. And I made a whole video about it. So you all were there for the manifestation too. So sometimes you have to bring other people into your manifestation, even if it's subtle, but be very careful, because some people will dog you out or will say things that will put you in a position where you start to question your manifestation. So sometimes they do it just out of them being themselves. There's no like hatred or anything, but people don't see your vision, and sometimes when you let them in on your vision, like it starts to deteriorate what you're working on, because you see it, but when people put their own energy on it, like it can cause you to kind of become discouraged. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, that's what happened. I made this video about me going LPN's RN journey. So I did the vision board January 2nd, and then I made the video about my debt being cleared, and I had my transcripts in my freaking hands by February 25th. So a little bit over a month. Now I know some people will be like, well, it was bankruptcy, that's why it was like paid off. That's all it was. Yes, that's true. It didn't get paid off. It was bankruptcy. Yes, but it happened. I did not force my mother to do this. I asked her, would you do it? She did it. And the thing is, like, I kept asking her. My husband kept, like, everybody played a part. Like, my best friend was telling me to contact my mother again. My husband was telling me to put my feelings out there and, like, really unbox the emotional trauma, emotional blockages that I had around school, around this debt, around that time of my life, because I was in a very dark space that time of my life, because I was living in freaking Great Barrington, Massachusetts, with no family, no friends, at the age of 16, going to college, walking to work, walking over an hour to go to work. Like, it was, learn about my story, but it was a lot going on. And it was a lot of block. It was just so much that I had around that energy. And I'll just say all that to say, I did the vision board. I put it somewhere where I could see. I believed in the vision, and I just let it go. And I honestly did not think it was going to happen that fast. Of course, it took 10 years for it to get paid off. But for me doing this vision board and like really putting everything out that I wanted to accomplish on this board, it happened just like that. It's just crazy, especially because remember I told you all that letter said October, and I put paid in full, put it right across from my bed. And I just thought, like, wouldn't it be interesting? Like, wouldn't it be crazy if this got paid off in October of next year? Like, this October coming up. Because I remember thinking it, like, the next October. Like, what if this just got paid off, like, around October? Like, wouldn't that be interesting? And it happened. I just did not know about it. Like, I guess wasn't open to it, or the timing wasn't right. But everything happens for a reason. I hope that this video kind of inspires you all to open yourself up and to really get to the depths of what might be blocking you from manifesting certain things. Right now, I am about to manifest something else, and I'll be doing a whole sort of video about that as everything comes into fruition. I don't want to talk about it right now, but let's just say we're gonna have a change of scenery, okay? So sprinkle some good energy on that for me. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for watching. Just thank you everybody for being a part of this journey. People who donated for me to go back to school, people who bought my nursing school notes and my nursing templates, and who like, comment, and subscribe, and you just send me a lot of love and energy. Like, all of that helped me to be where I'm at right now. I'll be graduating from my RN program in May of 2022. And you know what's interesting is, like, once this debt was paid off, I had no more work to do. I finished all my classes. Actually, I had sociology. One little class I had to finish over the summer. Did not have to pay out of pocket for it. I actually had financial aid for the first time in years. I had financial aid. I didn't have to pay out of pocket. And the reason why I had financial aid is because my transfers were released, so I could get financial aid at the time. And the whole time I've been in my RN program, I paid $0 out of pocket. In fact, I've actually been paid to go to school because of all the scholarships and grants that I've gotten from the school. Like, I'm actually getting paid to go to school right now. So as I stated, you know, everything happens for a reason. My mother always told me that growing up. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens in perfect timing. What's for you is for you. It will never leave you, right? So just keep going the course. Keep working towards whatever you're accomplishing. I know some things take a long time, but time is very relative, and sometimes things happen the way they need to happen for you. It was a reason for me to go to the school I'm going to instead of going to that other school. Like, all of this is for a reason. Like, right now, I really want to have 100K subscribers on YouTube. I've been doing this for a long time coming. I'm like, where they at? I haven't even hit 50 yet, but you know, it is what it is. Whenever it comes, it's going to be perfect, but at the end of the day, I'm still doing my work to show you all I'm here for you, and to put myself out there and to be of service to others. What's important to me. So I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching.